A dark and foggy morning in May 1941. Off the coast of Iceland, a silent terror drifts upon the waves. Task Force Commander Gunther Lutyens stands on the bridge, staring into a darkness his eyes cannot pierce. Under his command is the most feared weapon in all of Europe, the Bismarck. They call her the terror of the seas, a floating mountain of steel designed for one purpose: destruction. But beneath Lutyens' hardened exterior, a secret fear takes hold. His orders are to raid the cargo lifelines of Britain, but the entire weight of the Royal Navy stands in his path. Suddenly, a blip on the radar. Smoke trails emerge on the horizon. The HMS Prince of Wales and the mighty HMS Hood, the pride of the British Empire, have arrived to intercept the monster. The silence is shattered by the first flash of enemy guns. Bismarck's captain, Ernst Lindemann, waits for the order to fire, but Lutyens remains frozen, weighing the odds. He wants to avoid this fight. He wants to outrun them. But as massive pillars of water erupt closer and closer to his ship, the time for hesitation ends. The command is given: open fire. Bismarck's 15-inch guns roar with a thunder that shakes the very soul of the Atlantic. It is the fifth salvo that delivers a catastrophic miracle. A single shell strikes the HMS Hood, plunging straight into its ammunition magazine. In a heartbeat, a column of fire reaches for the heavens, and the British flagship is torn in two, sinking beneath the waves in minutes. A brief cheer erupts among the German crew, but their victory is hollow. The Bismarck is wounded. She is leaking oil, her forecastle is flooding, and her speed is failing. Lutyens knows that a wounded beast is the easiest to hunt. The British have mobilized every available ship for one mission: sink the Bismarck. Then, through the clouds, appear the shadows of the past. Obsolete swordfish biplane torpedo bombers. They are so slow and so ancient that Bismarck's modern anti-aircraft systems struggle to track them. One torpedo is dropped. In a cruel twist of fate, it strikes the rudder. The Bismarck is jammed. Is the end. The pride of the German Navy cannot flee. She is trapped in the middle of the ocean, sailing in endless, helpless circles. Lutyens transmits his final message: we will fight to the last. On the morning of May 27th, the British fleet closes in. The Bismarck's guns, once the terror of the seas, now falter as she becomes a floating funeral pyre. By 10 a.m., she is reduced to a burning wreck. When the scuttling charges finally blow, the Bismarck takes the hopes of 2,200 men into the abyss. Only 114 would survive the freezing water. But the ocean's appetite for steel was not yet satisfied. Fast forward to October 1944. The blue waters of the Pacific are about to witness the largest naval battle in human history, the Battle of Leyte Gulf. For 3 years, America and Japan have been locked in a death struggle, but the tide has turned. The Japanese carriers are now mere shadows, empty vessels without planes or experienced pilots to fly them. To stop the American liberation of the Philippines, Japan has only one card left to play: their super battleships, the Yamato and the Musashi. These are the largest battleships ever built, 72,000-ton monsters armed with 18-inch guns. Their strategy was desperate: a two-pronged pincer movement to bypass the American carriers and crush the invasion forces at the beachheads. They intended to hit the Americans where they were most vulnerable. But the Americans were prepared. With air bases and a massive fleet, They stood between Japan and its vital oil supplies. The resulting collision spanned hundreds of miles, a chaotic symphony of fire and steel that would finally break the back of the Imperial Japanese Navy. Yet, even before these titans clashed, the drama of naval warfare was being written in the South Atlantic. In 1939, another monster stalked the waves, the pocket battleship Admiral Graf Spee. Captain Hans Langsdorff had been terrorizing British merchant ships, but Commodore Henry Harwood had set a trap. At the Battle of the River Plate, the outgunned British cruisers Exeter, Ajax, and Achilles engaged the Goliath. The Exeter was punished mercilessly, her turrets silenced, and her bridge decimated. But in the heat of battle, a single British shell achieved what raw power could not. It pierced the Graf Spee's armor and destroyed her fuel purification plant. The ship was not sinking, but she was doomed. She had only hours of usable fuel left. Langsdorff was forced to seek refuge in the neutral port of Montevideo. Surrounded by the shadow of a British fleet he believed was far larger than it actually was, and under orders not to let his ship be captured, Langsdorff made a heartbreaking choice. He moved the Graf Spee into the shallow waters and set the scuttling charges himself. 3 days later, in a hotel room in Buenos Aires, Captain Langsdorff took his own life, choosing to follow his ship into history. Whether it was the Bismarck's jammed rudder, the Yamato's desperate final charge, or the Graf Spee's ruined fuel plant, these stories remind us of a singular truth. Man can build mountains of iron and arm them with the fire of the gods, but in the end, they're all fragile against the vast, cold indifference of the sea. These battles were never just about steel and strategy. They were about the thousands of souls whose dreams were silenced forever in the deep, leaving behind only the echoing ghost of the guns.